The sky darkened over New York City at exactly 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. It wasn't clouds. It wasn't an eclipse. It was them. Commander Alex Reed stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Headquarters, his eyes fixed on the massive shape blocking out the sun. The alien ship hung in the air like a mountain turned upside down, its dark metal surface catching no light. Behind him, his team waited in silence, their faces pale. "How many?" Alex asked, his voice steady despite the fear twisting his gut. Lieutenant Davis checked the readings on her tablet. 17 ships, sir, same size, positioned over major cities worldwide. Alex nodded, taking a deep breath of the suddenly cold air. 6 months ago, he had been teaching military strategy at the academy. Now he was facing the first confirmed alien contact in human history, and it didn't look friendly. "Get me a line to Central Command," he ordered, turning away from the impossible sight above. "And someone find out if our satellites can tell us anything about those ships." Inside the command center, chaos had given way to grim efficiency. Screens lined the walls, showing similar scenes from London, Beijing, Moscow, and other cities. The world's militaries were on high alert, but no one had fired. "Not yet." "Sir, we're picking up a signal," called out Communications Officer Ryan, his fingers flying over his keyboard. "It's being broadcast on all frequencies, all channels, even private devices." The main screen flickered, then filled with an image that made Alex's heart skip. The creature on screen was tall, with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer like oil on water. Its eyes were large, completely black, and showed no emotion. "People of Earth." It spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and echoing. "We are the Voidwalkers. We have observed your kind for centuries. You have potential, but you waste it on war and greed. Your time of independence has ended. You will now serve a greater purpose under our guidance." The alien paused, its head tilting slightly. "You have 48 hours to dismantle your weapons, dissolve your governments, and prepare to receive our representatives. Kneel, and you will survive. Resist, and you will be eradicated." The screen went black. The room erupted in voices until Alex slammed his hand on the table. "Enough, get me the president now." In the underground lab of the Pentagon, military analyst James Walker stared at lines of code scrolling across his screen. He hadn't slept in 24 hours, not since the ships arrived. Coffee cups surrounded his workspace like a miniature city. "Found anything?" asked Dr. Miller, the head scientist, her eyes red from lack of sleep. James rubbed his face. "Maybe. Their broadcast signal used our own satellites to boost the message. That means they had to connect to our systems first. And nobody breaks into a house without leaving footprints." James turned his screen to show her. "See these packets of data? They're not part of the message. They're command signals to their fleet. All 17 ships received the same instructions, at once." Dr. Miller leaned closer. "They're using our infrastructure for their own communications." "Yes. They're powerful, but they're efficient. Why build their own network when they can hijack ours?" James highlighted a section of code. "And here's the interesting part. All their ships sync to a master frequency. It's like they're all parts of one big machine. Is that useful to us?" James allowed himself a small smile. "If we can disrupt that sync, we might be able to throw a wrench in their plans. I need a team and access to all radio telescopes we can control." The emergency United Nations session was the shortest in history. Representatives from 195 nations gathered virtually as the alien ships loomed overhead. President Morgan of the United States stood at the podium in New York, her face resolute despite the shadow of the ship above the building. "They demand our surrender," she said simply. "They expect us to kneel without a fight. Some of my advisors suggest we should comply, at least temporarily." The Russian president's voice came through clearly. "And what do you suggest, Madam President?" Morgan's eyes hardened. "Humanity has never prospered under the boot of tyrants. I suggest we show these Voidwalkers that Earth is not theirs to claim." A murmur ran through the assembly. The Chinese premier spoke next. "Our military analysis suggests their technology far exceeds our own. Fighting could mean extinction." "So could surrender," Morgan replied. We have intercepted communications between their ships. Our analysts believe they have found a potential weakness. On screens around the world, James Walker's findings were displayed. As he explained the synchronization vulnerability, faces changed from despair to cautious hope. We need time, Morgan continued. I propose we send a message requesting an extension of their deadline. We ask questions, express confusion, anything to buy our scientists more time while we secretly prepare. The vote was unanimous. Alex Reed watched the alien response from the war room. The same Voidwalker appeared, looking almost amused. Your request for clarification is noted. We will extend the deadline by 24 hours. Your questions reveal your primitive understanding. Know this. 63 civilizations have joined our collective. None have regretted their decision, because we eliminated those who would. As the message ended, Alex turned to the president. They're overconfident. Good. Morgan nodded. How's Walker's team progressing? They've identified the exact frequency, patterns. They think they can create a disruption device, but they need more time and resources. They have both. I've authorized everything they need. The president looked around the room at the military leaders gathered there. We need to prepare our people for what's coming. Some cities may be lost before we can implement Walker's plan. General Thompson, a veteran of 3 wars, spoke up. We should evacuate major cities, move people underground where possible, and our official response to their demand? Asked the Secretary of State. Morgan stood straighter. We're almost out of time. We send it now. She stepped to the microphone and spoke the words that would define humanity's future. Voidwalkers, we have received your demands. We have studied your ships. We have considered our options. Here is humanity's answer. We stand, we fight, we survive. Earth will never kneel. In his lab, James Walker heard the president's message and worked faster. His team had built 3 prototype disruptors. If they worked, they would scramble the sync signal between alien ships, potentially disabling their coordinated functions. How long until they respond? Asked his assistant. James checked his watch. If they keep to their timeline, about 5 minutes. 4 minutes later, the sky above New York lit up with energy as the alien ship fired its first weapon. The blast destroyed the top floors of 3 skyscrapers. Similar reports came in from other cities. The invasion had begun, but humanity had made its choice. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the aliens were about to learn that humans don't break easily. In fact, they fight hardest when pushed to the edge. The war for Earth had just begun. Night fell across what remained of Washington, D.C. Fires burned in the government district where the Voidwalkers had focused their first attack. 3 hours had passed since President Morgan's defiant message, and the aliens had responded with swift violence. But they hadn't destroyed everything. They were being careful, strategic. This wasn't blind rage, it was calculated intimidation. Commander Alex Reed walked through the underground bunker that now served as the temporary White House. Military personnel rushed past him carrying equipment and reports. The world's resistance was organizing faster than anyone had expected. "Commander," a voice called out. Alex turned to see President Morgan emerging from the communications room, her face streaked with dust but her eyes clear and determined. "Madam President," Alex saluted. "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine," she waved off his concern. "What's the status of Walker's project?" Alex fell into step beside her as they moved deeper into the bunker. "He's made progress. The disruption theory checks out in simulations. They're building more devices now, but we need a way to deploy them." They entered the war room where screens showed the devastation across major cities. Paris was burning. Tokyo had lost power. But strangely, the aliens seemed to be avoiding maximum damage. They were taking out military installations, government buildings, and communication centers, but civilian casualties were lower than expected. "They want us intact," Morgan observed. "Not dead, but broken." "Slaves need to be alive to work," General Thompson added grimly from his position at the main table. The president addressed the room. "I've spoken with other world leaders. Russia, and China have moved their commands underground. Europe is coordinating a unified defense. We stand together. She took a deep breath. Now I need options. How do we hurt them back? In the lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, James Walker connected the final wire on the fifth disruption device. Each one was about the size of a microwave, with antennas arranged in a specific pattern to broadcast the counter frequency. Will 5 be enough? Asked Dr. Miller as she checked the power cells. No, James admitted. But it's a start. If they work as expected, we can build more. He wiped sweat from his forehead. The real problem is getting them close enough to the alien ships. The signal needs to be strong. The door to the lab slid open, and a tall, thin man in an Air Force uniform entered. That's where I come in, he said. Colonel Frank West, Special Operations. James stood up straighter. Colonel. At ease, West said with a small smile. I understand you've built something that might give us a fighting chance. Maybe, James said cautiously. If we can get them within half a mile of each ship. West nodded. My team specializes in impossible deliveries. Show me what we're working with. As James explained the technology, Dr. Miller received an alert on her tablet. Her face paled. They've started landing ground forces. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, all reporting alien troops. The first Voidwalker to set foot on Earth stepped from a smaller craft that descended from the mothership above New York. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body protected by armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal. 5 more followed, each carrying weapons that hummed with energy. A small group of human soldiers had established a barricade nearby, ordered to observe but not engage. Lieutenant Davis peered through binoculars, reporting back to Commander Reed via a secure line. They're moving toward the financial district, she whispered. 6 of them, sir. They seem to be scanning buildings. Stay hidden, Alex ordered through the comm. Do not engage unless directly threatened. But the Voidwalkers weren't interested in fighting. Not yet. They moved with purpose toward the New York Stock Exchange building. One placed a device on the main entrance. The doors slid open despite the security lockdown. They're accessing our financial data, Alex realized, turning to his team at headquarters. They're gathering intelligence, figuring out how our world works. Similar reports came in from other cities. The aliens were targeting key infrastructure, power plants, water treatment facilities, data centers. They weren't destroying them, they were studying them. They're planning for occupation, President Morgan said when Alex reported this pattern. Not extinction. That gives us time, Alex replied. And time is what we need. 3 days after first contact, the resistance began. Colonel West's team deployed the first disruption device in Chicago. They used a modified drone, flying it close to the underside of the hovering alien ship before activating the signal. James Walker watched the live feed from his lab, holding his breath. If this works, he whispered, we'll see a reaction within 30 seconds. 28 seconds later, the alien ship shuddered. Its smooth hovering pattern became irregular. Lights flickered across its surface. Then, to everyone's amazement, it began to sink slowly toward the ground. Cheers erupted in the command center. But James raised a hand for silence. It's not crashing, he warned. It's making a controlled descent. We didn't disable it completely, just disrupted its hover systems. Still, it was the first sign that the Voidwalkers could be hurt. The news spread across resistance channels worldwide. In London, as the alien ship touched down in Hyde Park, something unexpected happened. A group of civilians, ignoring evacuation orders, rushed the landed vessel. Military commanders watched in horror, expecting the humans to be slaughtered. Instead, they reached the ship before the Voidwalkers could respond. Using improvised explosives, they breached a lower section of the hull. Most died in the assault. But 3 made it inside. Who are they? President Morgan demanded, watching. The grainy footage. Former military, came the reply. British Special Forces who volunteered for a suicide mission. Not suicide, Alex corrected. They're carrying cameras. For 40 precious minutes, those cameras transmitted images from inside the alien vessel. Corridors of flowing metal. control systems that responded to touch, and most importantly, void walkers without their armor. The aliens were physically weaker than humans had expected. Their superiority lay in their technology, not their bodies. When the transmission finally cut off, the command center was silent. Then General Thompson spoke what everyone was thinking: they can be killed. James Walker studied the footage obsessively. "Look at their technology," he told Dr. Miller. "It's all connected. The ship responds to them like it's alive." "Some kind of neural interface," she suggested. "Exactly. And if they need to sync with their ships..." He looked up, eyes wide with realization. "We don't just need to disrupt ship-to-ship communication. We need to disrupt their connection to their own technology." As he spoke, reports came in of another alien landing, this time at a major technology research center in Japan. The Voidwalkers were gathering Earth's most advanced tech. They're not just studying us, James realized. They're looking for something specific. President Morgan received the news with grim determination. "Then we need to find it first. Whatever they want, we need to either destroy it or use it against them." The resistance was growing stronger. Underground networks formed as people shared information and resources. Humanity was adapting, learning to fight an enemy they barely understood. Cities burned, but hope hadn't died. And somewhere in England, a captured alien ship held secrets that might turn the tide of war. 2 weeks after the Voidwalkers arrived, Earth was a different world. Major cities stood partially destroyed, with alien patrols moving through streets once filled with human life. But the invaders had not won yet. Not by far. Deep in the mountains of Colorado, Commander Alex Reed looked at a map showing resistance cells across the globe. Thousands of blinking lights represented groups fighting back against the alien occupation. "Operation Defiance is ready," he told President Morgan, who had aged years in mere days. "Walker's disruption technology has been distributed to every major resistance hub." Morgan nodded, the weight of humanity's survival heavy on her shoulders. "What's the success rate in testing?" 87%, Alex replied. "The devices work, Madam President. When activated simultaneously, they should create enough interference to disable their ship's systems for approximately 15 minutes. 15 minutes to change the course of human history," she said quietly. "Let's make them count." Engineer Tom Rogers had never considered himself a hero. Before the invasion, he had been working on clean energy systems for a small tech company. Now he was putting the finishing touches on what might be humanity's most important weapon. "The sync disruptors are brilliant," he told James Walker as they worked side by side in the underground facility. "But I've been thinking, what if we could do more than just disrupt their signals? What if we could hijack them?" James looked up from his computer. "Hijack? You mean take control of their systems?" Tom nodded excitedly. "The footage from inside their ship shows they use some kind of neural interface. Their tech responds to them. But it's still technology, signals, frequencies, code. And code can be hacked." James finished, understanding dawning on his face. "What do you need?" "Time," Tom said grimly. "Which is the one thing we don't have." The alarm sounded before James could respond. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. The Voidwalkers had found them. The attack on the mountain facility was swift and precise. Alien craft smaller than the motherships, fighters the humans called them, blasted through the outer defenses. Troops poured in through the breach, their liquid metal armor flowing around them as they moved. "Evacuate all personnel through the emergency tunnels," Alex ordered over the comm system. "Priority 1 is getting Walker and Rogers out with their research." He grabbed his rifle and joined a group of soldiers forming a defensive position. The aliens moved with frightening efficiency, their weapons firing bursts of energy that melted through concrete walls, but the humans had been preparing. As the first Voidwalker turned the corner, Alex activated one of the disruption devices. The alien's armor suddenly froze, becoming rigid and heavy. Without its technology functioning properly, the creature stumbled, vulnerable for crucial seconds. Long, enough for human bullets to find the weak spots beneath. "They work!" a soldier shouted. "The disruptors work against their armor, too." Hope surged through the defenders. For every human that fell, they took down 3 aliens. It wasn't enough to win this battle, but it proved something vital. The Void Walkers could be fought. They could be beaten. Dr. Miller led James and Tom through the escape tunnels, carrying hard drives containing all their research. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the mountain. "We need to get to the backup facility in Nevada," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "President Morgan is waiting there with the prototype." "What prototype?" James asked, breathing hard as they ran. "The one built from parts taken from the captured ship in London," she replied. "It's what the Void Walkers have been searching for, why they hit our facility so hard." As they emerged from the tunnel exit hidden among trees, a military helicopter waited, rotors already spinning. Colonel West waved them in urgently. "Did Alex make it out?" James asked as they lifted off. West's grim expression answered before his words did. Commander Reed stayed behind to ensure the evacuation. His last transmission said to proceed with Operation Defiance no matter what. The Nevada facility was smaller but better hidden. President Morgan greeted them personally when they arrived, her eyes red but determined. Commander Reed's sacrifice will not be in vain, she told them. "We've received confirmation the attack on your facility wasn't isolated. They've struck at every major resistance center we know about." "They're scared," Tom said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. "Think about it. Why commit so many resources to wiping us out now? Because they know we've found their weakness." Morgan nodded. "And that's why we're accelerating the timetable. Operation Defiance begins in 12 hours. She led them to a secure room where a strange device sat on a pedestal. It looked both alien and human. Voidwalker technology merged with Earth engineering. "This is what we pulled from the ship in London," Morgan explained. "Their central navigation system. With it, we can not only disrupt their ships but potentially take control of one." James stared at the device. "That's why they've been searching our tech centers. They're looking for compatible systems they can use to enhance their control over their own technology." "Exactly," Morgan confirmed. "And now we're going to use it against them." Operation Defiance began at dawn. Across the world, resistance fighters moved into position near alien ships. Each team carried disruption devices, waiting for the signal. In orbit, the remains of Earth's satellite network had been reprogrammed for one crucial broadcast. In Nevada, Tom Rogers made the final adjustments to the hybrid device. "It's ready," he told the president. "When this activates, it will send the disruption signal to every satellite, which will then amplify it worldwide." "And the captured ship?" Morgan asked. "If our modifications work, the signal should override their systems rather than just disrupting them. We'll have control, temporarily." Morgan looked around at the faces of humanity's last hope. "Begin the countdown." At precisely 7 a.m. GMT, Operation Defiance launched. The hybrid device activated, sending its signal to the satellites. Across the globe, every Voidwalker ship suddenly shuddered. Their smooth surfaces rippled as if in pain. The smaller craft fell from the sky, crashing into empty buildings and open fields. The mothership's lights flickered and died. In London, where the first ship had been captured, something remarkable happened. The alien vessel that had rested in Hyde Park for days suddenly powered up. Its entry ramp lowered. Colonel West led a team inside expecting resistance. Instead, they found the ship's systems responding to human commands. On screens throughout the vessel, alien text shifted and changed, translating itself into English. "No." "Worked," West breathed, activating his comm. "Madam President, we have control of the London ship. I repeat, we have control." Similar reports came in from other locations. The disruption was working better than anyone had hoped. The Voidwalkers, cut off from their technology, were vulnerable. Human forces struck back, capturing alien weapons and turning them against their former owners. For the first time since the invasion began, the aliens retreated. In the captured London ship, James Walker and Tom Rogers worked frantically to understand the alien systems before their advantage disappeared. "Look at this," James called out, pointing to a screen displaying what appeared to be star maps. "These are navigation charts. Coordinates. To what? Tom asked, joining him. To their homeworld, James said, his voice filled with wonder and determination. And to every planet in their empire. As the 15-minute window of disruption ended, the humans had gained something the Void Walkers never expected to give them. A way to take the fight beyond Earth. The tide of war had turned. Humanity would no longer just defend, they would attack. 1 month after Operation Defiance, the war for Earth had reached a stalemate. The Void Walkers still controlled much of the planet's surface, but humanity had carved out safe zones, protected by disruption field generators. The aliens could no longer simply overwhelm humans with their technology. In the captured ship now housed in a massive hangar beneath the Nevada desert, Captain Lisa Reed stood before a group of volunteers. The sister of the fallen Commander Alex Reed, she had taken up his mission with fierce determination. This ship, she said, her voice echoing in the cavernous space, has been renamed the Reckoning. It is humanity's first starship, and you are its first crew. The 50 men and women before her represented the best Earth had to offer. Pilots, soldiers, scientists, and engineers from nations around the world. The mission is simple but dangerous, Lisa continued. We will travel to the Voidwalker homeworld using their own navigation system. We will gather intelligence, make contact with any potential allies, and if possible, bring back technology that can help us drive them from Earth forever. James Walker stepped forward. The ship's systems are now fully under our control, thanks to Tom Rogers' interface technology. We've learned enough of their language to operate it, and the engines are ready. President Morgan entered the hangar, her presence silencing the gathered crew. What you are about to attempt has never been done in human history, she said solemnly. You will travel farther than any human has ever gone, face dangers we cannot imagine, and carry with you the hopes of everyone on this planet. She looked at each of them in turn. Some of you, perhaps many of you, will not return. But know this. You go not just as soldiers or explorers, but as the first ambassadors of a united Earth. 3 days later, the Reckoning lifted off from Earth under cover of darkness. Tom Rogers had modified the ship's external appearance using adaptive camouflage technology reverse-engineered from Voidwalker armor. From a distance, it would appear to be just another alien vessel. Inside the bridge, Lisa took her place in the captain's chair. Around her, the human crew worked at stations, designed for beings with very different bodies. They had adapted quickly, using modified interfaces where needed. All systems ready, reported the engineer at the propulsion station. Disruption field is active. No signs of alien detection. Lisa nodded. Take us up, slow and steady. The ship rose through the atmosphere, passing the debris of satellites and the remaining Voidwalker vessels in orbit. For a tense few minutes they waited to see if they would be challenged. Nothing happened. They think we're one of them, James said from his station where he monitored communications. The camouflage is working. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. Set course for the first jump point. Let's see if this thing can really travel between stars. The Voidwalker's navigation system indicated a specific point in space far beyond the orbit of Mars. As they approached it, sensors detected an unusual energy pattern. It looks like some kind of fold in space, reported the science officer. Similar to the theoretical models for wormholes, but artificially created. This is how they traveled to Earth so quickly, James realized. They have a network of these jump points connecting their empire. Lisa gripped the arms of her chair. Take us through. Standard alert status. The ship accelerated toward the jump point. For a moment, the view screen showed a strange distortion, then blackness, followed by a field of unfamiliar stars. Jump complete, announced the navigation officer. According to the ship's data, we're 27 light-years from Earth. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. Humanity had just traveled a distance that would have taken conventional spacecraft centuries in mere seconds. Check the star maps, Lisa ordered, recovering quickly. How many more jumps to the Voidwalker homeworld? 3, came the reply. But there's something else. The navigation system shows dozens of other inhabited worlds connected by this network. Some are marked differently from others. James studied the data closely. I think the ones marked in red are conquered worlds, planets like Earth that have been absorbed into their empire. And the others? Lisa asked. Possibly allies, or maybe future targets. The second jump brought them to a system with 3 habitable planets. The ship's database identified them as part of the Voidwalker Empire for over 200 years. Should investigate, suggested Dr. Miller, who had insisted on joining the mission. This could be our chance to understand what happens to worlds after the Voidwalkers take over. Lisa considered the risk. We'll maintain orbit around the outermost planet. Passive scans only. I don't want to alert anyone to our presence. The scans revealed something unexpected. The planets were heavily industrialized with massive mining operations and manufacturing centers, but the biological readings showed diverse species, not just Voidwalkers. They're using these worlds as factory planets, James said, as he analyzed the data. And those readings suggest slave labor. Dr. Miller pointed to another set of readings. Look at these transmission patterns. The planets are communicating with each other, but on frequencies hidden from the main Voidwalker network. An underground resistance, Lisa realized, even after centuries of occupation. The decision was made quickly. Lisa authorized a small team to take one of the ship's shuttles to the surface, disguised as a routine Voidwalker patrol. James volunteered to lead it. On the surface of the third planet, James and his team made contact with the resistance. The beings they met were physically different from humans, 6-limbed with iridescent skin. But the look in their eyes was achingly familiar. Determination, defiance, and hope, nearly extinguished but still burning. Their leader called himself Traz. You are not Voidwalkers, he said when they revealed themselves. What manner of beings are you? We're humans from a planet called Earth, James explained. The Voidwalkers invaded our world, but we're fighting back. We've captured one of their ships and followed their jump network here. Traz's eyes widened. You resist? And you can control their technology? The concept seemed almost impossible to him. No species has successfully fought them in 1,000 years. James showed him images of Operation Defiance, the disruption technology, the captured ships, the human counterattack. We found a weakness in their systems, and we're looking for allies. Traz conferred with his people in their own language. Finally, he turned back to James. There are others like us, many worlds where resistance still lives, hidden beneath the surface. We have communicated in secret for generations, waiting for an opportunity. Now you have one, James said. We're going to the Voidwalker homeworld. If we can strike at the heart of their empire, they would weaken everywhere, Traz finished. Their control systems are centralized. That is how they maintain power. Over so many worlds. Before James left, Traz gave him a data crystal. This contains communication frequencies for resistance movements on 12 worlds. Tell them the long night ends. They will understand. Back on the Reckoning, Lisa listened to James's report with growing excitement. So we're not alone in this fight. Far from it, James replied. There's an entire network of oppressed species waiting for someone to lead them against the Voidwalkers. And they've just found their leader, Dr. Miller said, looking at Lisa. Humanity. Lisa studied the star map where the path to the Voidwalker homeworld glowed brightly. Send messages on those frequencies. Tell every resistance cell what we're planning. She straightened in her chair. The Voidwalkers wanted Earth to kneel. Instead, we're going to build an alliance that will end their empire forever. The Reckoning prepared for its next jump, one step closer to the heart of enemy territory. The Voidwalker homeworld hung in space like a dark jewel. Unlike Earth with its blues and greens, this planet was mostly black and purple, with strange glowing patterns visible even from orbit. Massive structures extended from the surface into space, a civilization that had outgrown its planetary origins. On the bridge of the Reckoning, Captain Lisa Reed watched the alien world grow larger on the view screen. The ship had completed its final jump an hour ago, arriving at the edge of the system before moving inward using conventional propulsion. Any sign they've detected us? She asked. None so far, replied the tactical officer. Our disguise is holding. They're registering us as a returning patrol ship. Next to Lisa, James Walker studied the incoming data with growing excitement. There's more activity here than I expected. Hundreds of ships moving in and out. This isn't just their homeworld, it's the center of their entire empire. Dr. Miller joined them, pointing to a specific reading. Look at that energy signature. It's consistent with what we saw at the jump points, but much stronger. I think their whole network is controlled from here. Lisa nodded. Which means if we can disrupt it, we could cut off their entire empire, James finished. Every Voidwalker ship on every conquered world, including Earth, would be isolated. The communications officer turned suddenly. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from the resistance networks. 12 worlds have risen up simultaneously, just as planned. The Voidwalkers are pulling ships back to deal with the rebellions. A tight smile formed on Lisa's lips. Perfect timing. The distraction will make our approach easier. She turned to address the bridge crew. This is the moment we've been preparing for. Our mission is clear. Locate the central control hub and deploy our upgraded disruption technology. She touched the badge on her uniform, one that had belonged to her brother. For Earth. For Commander Reed. For every world that refused to kneel. The reckoning moved through the crowded orbital lanes of the Voidwalker homeworld. Traffic control directed them to a docking station near one of the massive space elevators. As they approached, the crew held their breath, knowing discovery would mean instant destruction. Docking procedure initiated, reported the helmsman. Their automated systems are taking control. Let them, Lisa ordered. Maintain our disguise, until we're secure. The ship settled into a massive docking bay alongside dozens of similar vessels. Through the viewports they could see Voidwalkers moving about, unaware that their enemies had arrived at the heart of their empire. Security teams, prepare for deployment, Lisa commanded. Science team, pinpoint the location of the central control hub. We'll have a limited window once we begin. James studied the data flowing through the ship's systems. Now that they were connected to the main network, they could access far more information. I've found it, he said after several tense minutes. The control hub is located in the central tower. It's heavily guarded, but what? Lisa prompted. But they never expected anyone to reach this far. Their security is focused outward, not inward. Tom Rogers, who had spent the journey refining his interface technology, spoke up. I've completed the final modifications to our disruptors. Instead of simply jamming their systems, these will inject a virus into their network. One that will spread to every connected ship and installation. How long until it takes effect? Lisa asked. Once deployed? Minutes. But someone has to physically reach the central hub. Lisa's expression hardened. Then that's what we'll do. The infiltration team consisted of 12 humans wearing modified Voidwalker armor. The liquid metal flowed around them uncomfortably, but it provided perfect camouflage. Lisa led them through the vast structure, following James's directions transmitted from the ship. 2 levels up, his voice came through their earpieces. There should be a main transport tube. It will take you directly to the central tower. The alien city was both beautiful and terrifying. Structures seemed to flow rather than stand, with technology integrated into every surface. Voidwalkers moved with purpose, never suspecting the threat in their midst. They reached the transport tube, without incident. As they stepped onto the platform, a true Voidwalker approached them. It spoke in the clicking, humming language of its kind. Lisa froze, but Tom had prepared for this. A small device at her throat translated her whispered words into Voidwalker speech. Routine maintenance inspection, she replied. The alien stared at them for a long moment. Then it moved away, apparently satisfied. That was close, one of the team whispered as they entered the transport tube. Stay focused, Lisa replied. We're not done yet. The central tower rose like a black spire in the heart of the alien capital. As they ascended its levels, the team encountered heavier security, Elite Voidwalker guards with advanced weapons and armor. We can't avoid them all, Lisa realized. Prepare for combat. When the first confrontation came, it was swift and brutal. The guards detected something wrong with the infiltration team's movements and challenged them. Lisa gave the signal, and the humans activated their disruption devices. The effect was immediate. The Voidwalkers' armor froze, their weapons powered down, and for crucial seconds they were vulnerable. Human weapons, enhanced with alien technology, cut them down before they could recover. Alarms began to sound throughout the structure. "We've been compromised," Lisa barked into her comm. "James, we need a direct route to the control hub, now." "3 levels up, central chamber," he replied. "But you'll face heavy resistance. The entire complex is going on lockdown." Lisa looked at her team. 3 were injured, 1 fatally. "We move fast, we hit hard, no hesitation." They fought their way upward, using their disruption technology to create windows of opportunity. Voidwalker troops fell before them, but the humans suffered losses too. By the time they reached the final approach to the control hub, only Lisa and 4 others remained. "Tom," she called through the comm. "We're almost there. The virus ready?" "Ready," he confirmed. "Just get it into any console in the main control room." The doors to the control hub were sealed. One of the team placed explosive charges while the others prepared for a final push. "On my mark," Lisa said. "Weapons ready. 3, 2, 1. The doors blew inward. The humans charged through the smoke, disruption fields at maximum strength. Inside, a dozen Voidwalkers worked at strange, flowing consoles that seemed alive with energy. At the center stood one larger than the rest, clearly a leader. The leader spoke, and to everyone's surprise, it was in perfect English. "Humans, you should have knelt when you had the chance." "We don't kneel," Lisa replied, firing her weapon. "We fight." The battle was chaotic and desperate. The elite Voidwalkers recovered from disruption faster than any they had fought before. The humans used everything they had: alien weapons, disruption fields, and pure determination. Lisa took a hit to her shoulder but kept moving toward the central console. One by one, her teammates fell, buying her the seconds she needed. When she reached the console, she slammed Tom's device onto its surface. The Voidwalker leader lunged for her, but it was too late. The device activated, sending the virus surging through the network. The console flickered, then glowed bright red. Throughout the room, systems began to fail. "What have you done?" the leader demanded. Lisa smiled through her pain. "We've burned your empire to dust." On the reckoning, James watched as the virus spread through the Voidwalker network. Jump points across the galaxy began to collapse. Control signals to occupied worlds, including Earth, went silent. The entire empire, built over thousands of years, unraveled in minutes. "Captain Reed," he called through the comm. "The virus is working. Their entire network is collapsing. What's your status?" Static answered him. Then faintly, "Mission accomplished. Get our people home." "Lisa, we're coming for you." "No." Her voice came stronger now. "I've set the central hub to overload. The entire planet's defense grid is about to fail. Get the ship out of here and tell Earth we won." James wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. "Understood, Captain. Your brother would be proud." As the reckoning broke free from its docking bay, the Voidwalker defenses began to fire randomly. Their coordination lost. Behind them, the massive central tower glowed with building energy. The ship made an emergency jump just as the explosion began, a chain reaction that would sweep across the Voidwalker homeworld. 1 month later, President Morgan addressed the people of Earth. The Voidwalker ships had fallen silent, their troops in disarray. Without the central network, they had become isolated units that could be defeated one by one. "Today we remember the brave crew of the Reckoning," she said solemnly. "They took our fight to the stars and struck a blow for freedom, not just for Earth, but for countless worlds across the galaxy." She gestured to the representatives standing beside her, beings from a dozen different planets who had arrived in ships of their own design. The Voidwalkers told humanity to kneel. Instead, we rose up. We fought. and we have forged new bonds with civilizations we never knew existed. Today marks not just our victory, but the beginning of humanity's true place among the stars. High, above Earth, the Reckoning, now commanded by James Walker, prepared for its next mission. Not for war this time, but for exploration. The stars beckoned, full of both danger and promise. And humanity, having refused to kneel, now stood taller than ever before.